Hi, my name is Christina Trevino, and I chose to do my research topic on childhood sexual abuse. The definition of childhood sexual abuse, according to the American Association for Marriage and Family Therapies, are three main points: any sexual contact between an adult and a child, any behavior intended to stimulate a child sexually or to stimulate an adult through a child sexually, and sexual contact between a person who is of older developmental age than the child. Additional definitions can include incest, producing, owning, or distributing child pornography, and sex trafficking or prostitution of a child. The statistics on childhood sexual abuse are quite horrifying. 1 in every 3 girls before the age of 18 are victimized, while 1 in every 5 boys before the age of 18 are victimized. According to the Zalkin law firm, ages between 7 and 13 are the most vulnerable for childhood sexual assault. It is also stated that 3 out of 4 victims know their perpetrators. Over here you can see there are national statistics. Some of those smaller ones that you can't see are that there are 42 million survivors in the United States alone. Also, 90% of these survivors were disabled or delayed in one way, shape, or form. There is also to be noted that 30% of cases are never reported. Some risks that come with childhood sexual assault. At risks are the environments in which the children are in. Some of these can be the stressful home environment. Normally, if a stressful home is not providing a safe place for the child, they'll go seek one, which can be right into an abuser's arms, unfortunately. These children from stressful homes also often have lower self-esteem, which makes it easier for a perpetrator to come into their lives and take that advantage of that. Another one, which we've already talked on, is disabled children. Disabled children are 3 times more likely to be abused than a normally developing child. The reliance on others that these children have make them easier to victimize because they often can't comprehend, speak up, or get away from their abuse. Another at-risk environment is blended families. Blended families are in at-risk because the children are coming into contact with more people than they would have if they were from a non-blended family, which means more likelihood to come into contact with an abuser. And the difference of parental opinions on how to talk to your kids about sex, when they can date, and other things like that. Which brings me to my next topic on unmonitored tech access, which is most often monitored by the parents. Allowing children to have unmonitored tech access makes the child easier to isolate, makes them more likely to be hacked, and gives the abuser the opportunity to stay anonymous easier. The next at-risk environment are latchkey children. Latchkey children are children that are not in the care of a family member or their direct parents after school hours or in a daycare or places like that. Latchkey children lack consistent adults, which is why they're at risk, because they aren't consistently with the same person every time. And there's a lot of trust put into the center or the program that the children are in, because there's a lot of trust put into the center that they're choosing the right employees for your child. And finally, prior sexual abuse is actually a risk factor for childhood sexual abuse because re-victimization can happen. Statistics say that a child who has been abused is more likely to be abused again because of lack of successful support systems and successful coping skills. Warning signs of childhood sexual abuse can include avoiding physical touch, trying to run away from home, bleeding, bruising, itchy, or burning in the genital area, sudden phobias or fears, self-harm or suicidal ideation, which is very much overlooked because people don't believe that children can experience those things, but they very much can. And changes in hygiene. So there are short-term and long-term effects of childhood sexual abuse. The short-term effects are mostly on the physical body itself rather than the psychological, but there is one main psychological that happens normally in the short term. So short-term mostly are looking out for STIs and anything on the physical body, including cuts, bruises, broken bones, but psychologically, shock can set in, and that can be something that will subside in the short term. Long term, the American Counseling Association says that depression, guilt, shame, self-blame, eating disorders, anxiety, dissociative patterns, repression, denial, sexual problems, and relationship problems, along with re-victimization, are long-term effects of childhood sexual abuse that will not only affect them in their childhood and their development, but their life as an adult later. Childhood sexual abuse does not only affect the child itself, but also the family. Parents or siblings can blame themselves or each other for the situation that has happened, and the dynamics change drastically. Effects in school and warning signs in school that teachers or others can look out for are sudden troubles in school, new fears or triggers, hypersexuality, which is more sexual knowledge or actions than what is developmentally appropriate. Interactions with teachers and peers can change, and things that were once enjoyed can become triggers, or they're just uninterested in them anymore. And finally, the treatment of childhood sexual abuse. Childhood sexual abuse treatments should always be in quotation points because there are no actual treatments for childhood sexual abuse. It's just how you deal with them that is the treatment. So the first big one is prevention. There are laws and acts in the United States and for each individual state to provide protection to children. Parental discretion is underlined in this because unmonitored tech access, the people that they come in contact with, when they should date, all of those things are used by parental discretion. And then finally, research and programs. There are programs for outreach and research that is being done, which will all go under the prevention category. The next category is therapies. The first one being family therapies. The next one being group therapy, which takes a group of survivors and allows them to have a support system in their group while they're all talking about their feelings and how to use their coping skills and all of those things. As well as trauma-focused therapy, which is a one-on-one with the child that allows them to work through everything that has happened and how to successfully create support networks and coping skills. The next one is awareness. For anybody who's being educated and becoming aware, it gives a personal understanding of your role in this situation. As an educator and a teacher, I am a mandated reporter, so that is my role in that situation. It also gives the common knowledge to not only children and parents, but other adults of inappropriate versus appropriate touches. And finally, it makes a sensitive topic, which this is very much taboo, more common knowledge, more out in the open and normalized, because the more it's taboo and we refuse to talk about it, the longer people are going to be able to get away with it. Medication is also an option, such as antidepressives and anti-anxiety medicines. And finally, coping skills, which are things like self-care, journaling, and reaching out to others when you need help. Childhood sexual assault is a horrendous crime that happens far too often. Put together with prevention, awareness, and human decency, we can make a difference in these children's lives and prevent these from happening again. Thank you, and I hope that you found some of this useful.